let's look at another problem in Chapter 3. And this one I'm pretty much going to just kind of talk about this one, just to give you an overview again of some of the terminology. So this is a budgetary comparison report. I'm on problem number 326. And they ask us to review a computer-generated budgetary comparison report presented below for Lincoln City Culture and Recreation Department as of July 1st of its fiscal year ending December 31st, and respond to the questions. So if we look at our report, we have a detailed report, and we look at our account title, for example, Personnel Services. Fiscal year 2019 has a budget of 1.172661. Expenditures to date, 533,472. Encumbrances outstanding, 0, and available appropriations is simply the difference between the two. So we have that for each of our accounts, and then it asks us what is the likely reason there are no outstanding encumbrances for the personnel services, conferences, and training and utilities. And so what an encumbrance is generally for purchases of goods and services for which there's a delay. So this may not be the definition in the book, but a delay between placing an order and receipt. So kind of think about it that way. So if you have reoccurring expenditures like payroll and utilities, they're generally not necessary for those expenditures. Conferences and training, though, are usually not ordered in the sense of a purchase order or contract for future service. If they are made in advance, they're usually paid at the time of reservation and thus are actual expenditures. Now, I can tell you at Southeastern that's not true. When we have a conference, I have a conference coming up in the end of October, and I actually have to have that paid by September 15th. And so we will we may have encumbrances on things such as that. And so anyway, that's kind of just looking at that and again becoming familiar with what an encumbrance means. So that's not true for every governmental unit, but for this one in particular, that would be the reason. So B says, does it appear that the Culture and Recreation Department may overexpend its appropriation for any of the accounts? If so, which ones may run short? So we're about halfway through the year. And so what we'd want to do is a mid-year report. And so we've got a mid-year fiscal year 2019. And what I would want to look at is each one of the departments and kind of see where they are. And this, again, is very common. We do this here at Southeastern. We get reports that kind of show us what's going on with our budgets if it's applicable to us. And it's very common this is something I've seen in just regular business, but when you have budgetary control, such as you do in a government, it's even more important. And so what I would do is I would take a report such as this. I would put each one of them on here. And then I would look at a year-to-date as a percentage. It's very interesting to me how so many students have trouble understanding percentages. So we're going to really work on that this semester. Okay, so for personnel services, well, I'll show it to you this way. I was going to do the calculator, but I'll just show it to you this way. So what we're looking at is what have we spent so far. So we've got 533,472 divided by the total budget. And so right now we're sitting at 45, and I'm going to go ahead and round this to one decimal place, 45.5%. Now for materials and supplies, we actually we've got some encumbrances outstanding here. So we're going to take our expenditures plus our encumbrances, and then we're going to divide that by the total budget. Oh, I don't want to do that. I shouldn't do video lectures early in the morning. Okay. And then conferences and training, we've got 1426. And then I think you get the idea. Okay, now on this one, we have some encumbrances. And we divide that by our total. So I think you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of these. I've already worked all this out, so I've got that ready to go. Okay, so when I look at this, materials and supplies, contractual services, and others, it looks like, and you could even do, and I'm not going to do it here because I'd have to go back and remember how to do it, but you can do Excel function that says if it's more than 50%, highlight it, and you can automatically make that happen. Now, utilities, I would say we're okay there. But materials and supplies, contractual, and especially other, it looks like we may have some issues. So what we want to do is go get some additional information. We want to go to whomever is in charge of contractual services and say, hey, what's going on here? It looks like we're halfway through the year and you're well over 50%. They may have a really, really good explanation for it. It's just something that we need to stay on top of and analyze. And then it says, does it appear that the cultural and recreation department may underexpend any of its appropriations? If so, which ones? And so obviously anything under 50%, we want to look at that and we want to say, okay, what's going on? And it may be that all of our conferences are at the end of the year. It may be that we're planning to hire some new people after a certain season that we're going through, and it may be that a capital outlay is waiting on the people who we've hired to do it, or the people that we've talked to about getting it put in place. So there's lots of different reasons. Again, it's just finding out what's going on. And then it says what factors may explain the expenditure patterns. I mean, I think we've already talked about that. But again, looking at the past, I mean, in the past, has personnel been low and conferences been low, or has it been high? Like, what's going on with this? Again, great problem to kind of begin talking about some of that terminology. So again, let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.